Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to a new video here. So here I'll be going over the spoilers for Chronicles, the next set coming out. I was planning on doing this earlier, but I wasn't at home. I was down in another part of the state for a decent amount of time, so I got really behind on just videos in general, but this specifically. But I was going to go over basically weekly going over the spoilers that have been revealed, because it looks like they release a spoiler a day, card a day, and I'll go over them and what the sort of mechanics they might introduce and different things like that. And so I'm not sure how long the spoilers go for, but I mean, as long as they keep releasing them, I'll do this at the end of the week that they release them. So look forward to that. Also, a quick little blip. I'll probably have this in the Force of Will news as well, but Chronicles just announced that they're going to be having demo decks available at Force of Will GP. So if you're already playing Force of Will and plan on going to a GP, you'll be able to demo those decks for free. I assume you'll be able to take them home or something like that if it's a normal demo deck. But yeah, so that's kind of cool that they're actually trying to reach out now. So that's a good sign. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and get right into it. Also, big thanks to Dylan Lucas. He's in the caster group, and I asked him a couple questions about some of the stuff because for some reason I was having trouble figuring out some of the stuff in my head. But yeah, so here we go. So first card that was revealed, and this is pretty backed up. So there's going to be more cards in this episode than in later ones, but so this will be a big one. But first card is Sentry Gold or Gentry Gold. So it just is a caster, level 1 caster. You tap it to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's Genji, you put it into your hand. Otherwise, you put it into an allied graveyard. That's one of the new things that are coming out is Genjis. I don't know if that's how you say it, Genji or Genji. So I apologize ahead of time. But that's one of the new card types that are being introduced. And there's a lot of mechanics to go with that. And another card type that we'll get to as well. So it's pretty cool. And they'll be wearing, just visually, they're wearing the traditional clothing type of those two different sects. I know I don't know much about it, but it has to do with original Japanese culture and all that stuff. So it's still a cool touch. So our first servant is Tomo. It's a 2-cost servant with 1,000,000. She is a Genji. Gosh, I'm going to get somebody mad. I'm making myself mad. She has an enter effect where you search your deck for up to 4 Genji servants not named Tomo and reveal them. Then you shuffle the rest of your deck and put them on top of your deck in any order. So that also would combo with the previously mentioned caster. So you're able to get that guaranteed draw. So you get her, search them out, and then you just keep drawing them into your hand to populate your field. So you can do a pretty servant-heavy deck, which would be kind of cool. Next, we have Broomschlein, which is another caster. She has an ability where you draw a card if an allied Heishi servant was to put into the graveyard from a servant zone this turn. So Heishis are the other type of card coming out. So it's basically just those two sections, Genji and Heishi. I said that wrong. But yeah. So we got Usamaru, so she's a 3-cost Heishi, and she just is a 2,000, 1,000, and enter, you draw a card. So that's actually pretty good, I think, for a 3-cost. Having draw power and that 2,000 attack is pretty high. And being the Heishi, so he's able to combo with different cards that we'll be getting to. So it's a pretty good card in general, and, bunny rabbit, so there's that. Soul Bond, so this is one of the big themes and mechanics that they're going to be introducing here. So this is a 2-cost Conjure, and you may pay the ether cost of this card with the ether of any element you want. It just can't be void. You have to have at least one color as per the normal rules. So that's pretty cool just on its own. And then you get to choose a Soul Bond servant from your extra deck and Soul Bond it. So basically this is the new mechanic. So there's this new extra deck that you'll have. I'm not sure the specifics of it. I'm sure we'll get more specifics as rulings come out. If you guys know more about some of the stuff I'm about to go over, just comment below. And if you're able to get some detail in there, that'd be pretty cool. And I'll just pin your comment. But if I miss something along the way. But basically you'll have this extra deck. You're able to Soul Bond, and you choose that Soul Bond servant, which we'll get to, and you attach the required material caster. So there's specific casters that they'll name at the top that it needs to materialize. You can either have them from your hand or your caster zone. We don't know if that includes face down casters or casters that are under level 2 casters and stuff like that. But you put the required casters onto there, and then it is casted. So one example of this is Rainiart. So her materials she needs is Sunny and Shara. Those are the two casters. And as you can see, this is a really pretty looking card. I'm really digging the artwork on this. It'll be really cool to see. I'm curious if this will be a textured card as well, or if they'll still delegate that to casters only. But she has 2,000 attack and 0 defense. She has Soul Seal, which means that you can basically, one of those 2 cards that are under her, which are the materials you paid to bring her out, you can banish one of those to trigger her enter effect. And her enter effect obviously would trigger on its own as well. But you do it. It's not a quick cast, that Soul Seal. You can only do it during your main phase. And so that would trigger her enter effect again. And this goes for all of the ones we'll go over. And her enter effect is target enemy player discards a card. And whenever she... and so that's just the effect. And then she has a separate effect of whenever she corrupts an orb, you get to draw a card. So it's this sort of cool mechanic where you're making your opponent discard cards and you're drawing cards and stuff like that. So it could be pretty cool, especially you could put her in and just enter effect, banish, enter, enter. I assume it would work like that. The downside of if you get rid of both those cards is it has a secondary ability of if she would leave the field for a non-field zone, which I assume would include her getting destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can banish one of the stock cards under it instead, and she gets to stay on the field. So I'll real quick apologize ahead of time if I'm a little... I'm sick, so I'm having trouble talking, so if I'm going in and out, that's why. But next we have Sunny. So this is another caster. Tap to draw a card if an enemy discarded a card this turn. And as you saw before, this pairs with the Soulbond Servant there. And then Shara Angelica. So she also goes with the previous mentioned Soulbond Servant. And taps, draw a card if an allied servant corrupted an enemy orb this turn. So it looks like a lot of draw power is centered around that Soulbond Servant, which is kind of cool. You could burn through your deck pretty quickly, but if you're playing the deck correctly, I feel like you could populate your field and inhibit your opponent enough with discarding cards and other things that you're able to get an early game kill. Next we have Shura Psyche. She's a level 1 caster where target you can tap her, so target Haishi gains 1,000 attack to end of turn, so pretty standard. Next we have another Soulbond Servant. So this is Mithiel. So she needs Ranberfeld and Miu in order to cast her out. She has 2,000 attack, and her Soul Seal, same thing, banish and all that. And her enter ability is put target servant in an allied graveyard into your hand. So basically, you just get to bounce stuff from your graveyard into your hand, which is extremely useful, especially for a lot of just chump blockers, 1 cost and stuff like that I like to use. It's good to have those. You chump block, and then you can just bounce them back into your hand and play them again for low cost and use your casters for their tap ability, so you're not using them for their actual will. Next, we have another caster, which is kind of cool looking. I like her. She has a tap ability, return an allied servant to its owner's hand. Target allied servant gains 1,000 attack to end a turn. So that's good if there's a certain blockers and stuff like that you need to get through, or if you want to bounce stuff back because you won't just use it for its enter effects and stuff. I feel like there's a lot of useful things that could be found there. We have Miu, so tap, draw a card if an allied insect was destroyed this turn. Once again, standard theme, but she's also the fuel for your soul bond, so you'll need to have her. Cool looking though, I really like the artwork on that one. Aura Schleim, so she has a tap ability where you banish Genji and you get to draw a card. So tap ability, so it's quick cast speed, so you can play it on your opponent's turn after you attack, so you're not losing too much. So that's a pretty good ability, and especially with the ability to bounce stuff back into your hand. There's a lot of different combos and effects you can do there. Another Soulbound Servant is Sirius Lucen. So she uses Deshi Lion and Charleur Sur. Gosh, these names. I'm sorry, I have so much trouble, but she has 1,000. Her enter effect is you get to destroy target reversed enemy servants. So that's extremely useful in my opinion, because reverse enemy servants are really can be a pain in the butt if your opponent plays them correctly. So being able just to navigate around them multiple times even with her is really nice. And she's, unlike the other soul bonds so far, she actually has a defense and a lower attack, where the others just have 0 defense and 2,000 attack. So the Deshi line is a tap. You get to discard a caster, put target supplies in an allied graveyard into your hand. So once again, more bouncing and doing stuff like that, which is pretty cool. It helps to basically fix your hand, especially with no hand limit. You're just doing you can do a bunch of draw power, and you don't have to worry about discarding or banishing and stuff like that for other effects, because you can bounce them back into your hand and fix your hand into the way you want, because you're getting whatever cards you need from your graveyard and just different things like that. So I think there's a lot of cool potential here, especially now that we're actually getting more cards outside of one booster box. Next we have Charlier Sue. She has a tap ability where you discard a caster and recover target enemy servant with a cost of 3 or less. So this once again helps you get around reverse enemy servants and just basically any type of enemy servant so you can choose to either swing past them or easily destroy them depending on what their attack and defense is. So it's a pretty cool ability, I think. Next is Vege Scarlet Star. So you banish an orb and corrupt target orb for her top ability. This is a really interesting one, I think. Especially with other cards from the previous set, this could combo extremely well where you populate your orbs or protect them and are getting rid of the orbs just passively on the enemy side. I think there's a lot of cool potential there, I think, and I like the idea of just banishing your orbs, shooting yourself to try and shoot them. It's kind of a cool idea. Next we have Nadeshiko. So this is a green caster where you tap her to produce one ether of any element, and you can use this ether only to play Genji and Heishi servants. So this is really cool. If you're doing a heavy Genji or Heishi deck, then you get to choose or both together. Then it just run a bunch of, well, not a bunch of these, but you know, you want to run this because it's just cool to fix because you only need that one ether to play the card. So as long as you have her on your field, you're golden. Next we have Lady Lupinus. Her tab ability is you get to discard a caster and put target Heishi in an allied graveyard into your hand. So once again, just more bouncing, more working with those Haishis and different cards like that. Next we have Lily Lulu. So she's pretty cool looking. She uses Parute and Ellie Superior to fuel her. She has 1,000 as well. Her enter ability is you get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck and you get to choose a flower or insect from among them and put them just straight into your field, and you put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is really good, I think, especially obviously if you run a heavy insect and flowers in your deck. Just so you're pretty much guaranteed to have those on the top of your deck, or if you have some other way to fix those onto the top of your deck, being able to just straight up put it into your field, I think is an extremely strong thing, especially since this is happening during your main phase before your attack phase. You're able to get that extra attacker in, and depending on what you pulled, and just really good, I think. The downside is, however, her last words is you banish all allied flowers and insects, so you gotta be careful, especially with how many cards under her you might banish to get her enter effect in order to fix those onto your field, because it might not pay off in the end. So the Parute that she works off of, the tap abilities you get to discard a caster and target enemy player discards a card. You play this ability only during your main phase. So this is an okay ability, or actually I think it's actually a decent ability. I don't know why I thought it was okay, because it's extra casters are always a problem, so it's great to just get rid of them. And then Ellie Superior, you get to banish a recovered insect or flower to destroy target enemy servant if it has a cost equal to or less than the cost of the insect or flower you banished with her ability. So that's just a nice, easy way to get around things, especially if they have a reverse position, once again, with a really high defense or really high attack that you just can't get around because of you have a lot of cards with separate abilities, so their attack and defense is just naturally lower because of those extra effects. Being able just to banish it and to destroy something and then use another effect to bounce stuff back into your hand, I think is very good. Next we have our cute little Goblin Thief, which is just a 3-cost servant with 4,000 attack and 4,000 defense, and whenever this card is attacked, the attacking enemy player gains control of this card. So it's okay. It's really interesting because it's a low cost, so 3 costs, so it's really easy to put onto your field to get past really strong enemy servants and get into that orb corrupting business. However, it's just going to switch to your enemy's side at some point. However, as soon as you attack it, it'll switch back to your side, so it'll be cool this sort of back and forth. I'm not sure how useful it'll be or how used it will be. I could definitely see a lot of use out of it, but not a early game. I feel like it's sort of a later game thing when you want to drop a couple of them or that and some other stuff for those final kills where you don't want to worry about it switching sides and all that, but yeah. Next one, this is probably my favorite art, is Tanel Frula. So this is a level 1 caster where you tap her and discard a caster and target allied cosmetic gains double corrupt until end of turn. So that's a really good ability in my opinion. Double corrupt I think is a really strong a mechanic inside of this game. And so being able just to discard a caster in your hand, which you probably already have extras of, in order to corrupt an extra orb on top of what you're doing, I think is extremely useful, especially if you combo it with cards that say, like, whenever you corrupt an orb, draw a card, and then you suddenly give it double corrupt, so you're drawing 2 cards on top of that. Different things like that I think are really good. Next one's kind of weird. We got Bear Boy, so he's a 3-cost 3,000 with slow start. Straightforward, but I like straightforward cards. They're good to have in your decks. Next we have Salal Baton. So tap, target enemy player discards a card if a servant was returned to a player's hand from a servant zone this turn. So this combos with some of those bouncing effects from earlier, where you're able to bounce cards back into your hand in order to give a card a plus 1,000, for example. So you combo it with that, and so suddenly you've bounced a card that maybe has an enter effect, so you're going to be able to put that into your field again. You're giving something plus 1,000, and your enemy discards a card as well on top of that. So it's a lot of cool combos that I think they're just building on. That'll be a lot of fun later on. Next is Gyoza Tiger. So this is a 5-cost servant with 4,000 attack, and it has last words of destroy target servant. So this one I think is pretty good. The 5 cost is pretty high, which kind of sucks. However, it does have a high attack, and as soon as it dies, you get to freely destroy an enemy servant on top of that. So there's definitely value, I think, in it. I don't think it's something you run a lot of. If you do run it in your deck, I think it's only like 1 or 2 of, at least for me personally, but just because of the high cost. But I think it's a really cool card with a lot of potential. And lastly, we have Rosaria Bell. So she is a level 1 caster, and tap her, you get to banish herself, and you search your deck for a level 1 card named Miu and put it into your field, then shuffle your deck. You play this ability only if you don't control a card named Miu. So if you guys remember, Miu was the caster that you tap to draw a card if an allied insect was destroyed this turn. But it's also the feel needed for Mithiel, Soulbond Servant. So it's a way to search that out as well to get that fuel out to bring her out, and just or if you just need the caster for whatever reason. But yeah, so that's all the cards. It's pretty cool so far. I'm really digging the new Soulbond stuff. It looks pretty cool. It took me a minute to figure out how it went and how it worked exactly, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward now that I figured it out. And I'm really digging the look of them as well. I'm pretty excited to see what those look like in real life. And I'm really digging a lot of the sort of interplay we have, like I said, with the bouncing, searching, fixing your hand, searching your deck. Different things like that I think are really cool and really add to the overall fun of the game, as long as nothing is too broken. But it's hard for me to tell, at least at this point, what's broken and what's not. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy that. We'll have more casters videos soon. Like I said, I'll be doing this weekly until the new set comes out. Hopefully I'll be able to get a box. We'll see. It's I'm low on money, so we'll see when we get there. But yeah, that coming up, and hopefully be filming some gameplay soon here. Cross my fingers. Crap keeps happening every time I will go to film it. So, but yeah, subscribe if you like this, and we'll see you guys next time.